I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought at night just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
Hello! Welcome to the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, season 31, episode 2. My name is Kimmy.
My name is Adam.
I'm Nick.
And on today's episode, Array asks our writing style alignments, Steve in SoCal asks about the tone of convention games, and Patrick has a gripe about our grumbling about GURPS. I had so much fun writing that line, by the way.
That's very good.
Thank you. If you'd like to contribute a question or story to the show, email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. And we need emails, please and thank you. All right, announcements. So this is season 31, and we're starting something new this season. Starting in November, which is next week, we are going to have an indie designer of the month. So each month we will be featuring a designer from the indie community and mentioning them each week on the show, where you can find their stuff, different games that they've done. Patreons will get a copy of one of their games or a chance to win one of their games, depending on the price point of the game.
Right.
Because we will be purchasing from them, because the whole point is to support the designers.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, depending on where they live and what their schedule is, we'd be able to have the designer join us for one of the advice shows, or maybe even running a one-shot of their games during their featured month.
Fun.
And just to be super clear about this will not be pay to play. Happy Jacks will not ever do sponsorships or paid promotion anymore, especially for game systems or publishers. If someone asks for, offers us $1 million to here's some dice, then yeah, we might do that. But we definitely won't be ever doing game systems or publishers, because we want you to know that we are giving our honest opinions when we talk about things. And we'll be finding designers.
We never shill for products.
No. He holds up. All right.
I covered up the label, mostly.
I do not care. Okay, just to be true, if a very good drink company came and offered to sponsor us, I would take that.
Right? Yes. Yeah.
It's separate.
Right, yeah.
It's not I don't feel that messes with our journalistic integrity as as game talkers.
Well, we've had partnerships sort of with things before, but it's usually products we believe in and that have come to us naturally, as opposed to just take money from anybody just to say nice things about them.
Right. Well, and I don't think we're actually I've had a couple offers from also great companies that we love that are game accessories, and I've turned them down specifically because I do think it's important that we stay ad free, kind of independent. If some great opportunity came with something we really believed in, I might talk to it. But
full transparency, though, Kimmy's mom does pay us to come over and
What?
Sorry.
Told her to stop doing that in junior high.
I was actually going to say, so what Kimmy is really getting to is that our morals and ethics are flexible, and if the price point's high enough, we will sell out.
Yes.
I mean, depending
So if you did want us to do it, you just haven't thrown enough money our way yet?
Right.
But not for game systems or publishers. That's a hard line, never on that, and probably not anything else, because everyone else is well, fine, never mind.
Yeah.
But we'll be finding the designers through the indie community, through different things. If you have a designer you'd love to submit, get in touch, and I'm excited about it. I'm very excited. We've already picked the person, and we've announced it to the Patreons who the person is for next month, and I'm a big fan, and I'm excited, so no spoilers.
Okay.
All right. Cool. I think that's
If you want to know, sign up and become a patron.
Yeah.
A patron, not a Patreon.
Patreon.
A patron.
I call them Patreons.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's still, I don't know what to call you.
Because it's Patreon, and so when they join, they become Patreons.
Yeah.
They're our laser
for it.
Patreon heroes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do that if you are interested in doing that. You can find more information at happyjacks.org/Patreon. And yeah, they are our amazing heroes who keep us ad-free and independent, because we hate ads as much as you do.
There's two.
All right. Yeah, there's. It's like the most annoying thing when you're listening to a podcast or
It
watching a show and
is.
you're just like,
Yeah.
and then it's like,
Even if it's something that I like, I'm still like, please, like, stop with the advertisements. Yeah.
especially if it's a show you listen to regularly because
Right.
it's the same ads every
Yeah.
time, and you're like, I
Yeah.
checked that out like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Right?
So
Yeah.
much.
The podcasts that I listen to on the regular will actually have like at least a place where you know it's going to happen, and they'll play the little tagline, so I can be like, cool, I'm just gonna fast forward 2 minutes, or they at least try and make it interesting,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not just like, this is brought to you by Triangle Space.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I also appreciate it when they try and keep it in measurements of like 15 seconds,
yeah, so you
so you can hit the skid. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So we try to do that with our intro music. Our intro music is like 31 seconds long, so you can hit
Nice.
if you're tired of it. I mean, it's my band, so please don't be tired of it. But if you want to skip it, you can hit the fast button twice and skip it, because most apps it's like 15 or 30 seconds. So.
Yeah.
RPGM Sean in the chat asks, are any of the guest designers from within the Happy Jacks community? Yes, they are. I will actually not be having like me or like Jason or people who are like on here all the time talking about our games as the indie designer of the month, because that defeats the purpose.
right.
Yeah.
But our first designer of the month is from the Happy Jacks community. Long time listener.
Oh.
Has not ever been on the show.
Uh-huh.
Has written into the show.
Okay. I think I know who it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see. But anyway,
I believe I backed that Kickstarter, if I'm guessing correctly.
maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
All right. Anyway,
Hmm.
no spoilers.
Yeah.
We should probably start.
I legitimately do not know
I know.
who it is. So yeah. So
It's
my mind
exciting.
is reeling now.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited to see how this goes.
Cool.
Oh, and patrons will also be getting an interview. It'll be a text interview, but an interview posted that they can read with the designer. So
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
nice.
as a special little extra thing to thank them for all they do for us. Anyway.
Yeah.
Emails.
Okay. Emails?
Emails.
Do you want me to start?
Email.
Emails.
Is it-
I'm sorry, I started
Do it.
drinking early today.
The emails.
Emails. All right, go ahead.
All right, mailbag 1. Hello, Kimmy and the Jets. I really like that one.
That's good.
It's very good.
Yep.
It's Aria. Aria?
Aria.
Aria. Formerly James from New Jersey. Still from the pork roll side of New Jersey. I don't know what that means, but okay. With another email.
I feel like that's like a very, like, there's a lot of people who are like, yeah! And we're like,
Pork roll!
yeah. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Okay,
all
all right.
right.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's like saying you're from the valley, or,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm from the west side.
I'm from 310.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Don't talk to me, 818.
Right.
I'm a 310.
Right.
909. Okay. They're like, what is happening?
Yeah. No, New Yorkers do it too with the
Oh, they do?
212.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah, if you got a 212 area code in New York City, you're like, that's like the old school. And so everybody's like, no, 212 is the original. And yeah.
Got
And they're
it.
like, I'm not taking that 646 number. And, yeah, anyway. Yeah, okay. So
That got
Thanks,
off
New
track
Jersey.
fast.
Yeah. I just want to say that I appreciate all of the positive feedback from my horror story and that I wasn't alone in thinking it was truly a horror.
You were accurate. It was not just
Yeah.
you.
So recently, my partner and I have been running a Doctor Who RPG game for some of our friends. We have very, very different GMing writing styles. I have attached an image of the writing style alignment chart that changes the standard 2 axes to lawful, neutral, chaotic, and pantser, planster, plotzer, which I have found very effective to explain my style. I am very much a chaotic planster, and my partner is either neutral plotter or lawful planster, depending on how much time they have to devote to things, which makes us a very good pair to work together on this.
Bear with us. This is going to make a little bit more sense in a little bit when we actually read the chart.
Yes. So I put a little bit of thought into the next adventure / monster of the week and use a lot of random tables to generate what they will encounter when they step out of the TARDIS. And they will help to talk things out and refine the chaotic mess into a coherent plot. During the actual session time, the bulk of the session is run by myself, with them reining me in when I start to go too far off the wall, or make things too easy with an overabundance of yes-anding. As Riley mentioned a few weeks ago, I also suspected that a player playing the Doctor would be very easy to overshadow the others without careful consideration, so we decided to make them an unreliable flight NPC, mostly run by my partner. This gives us a vehicle to move the plot along when necessary, but since they are unreliable, it also leaves the companions to fend for themselves more often than not. This allows for the players to try really wacky and off-the-wall antics that would fit right into an actual episode of Doctor Who. I know that Dave and Stork have a similar co-GMing relationship, with Stork doing an overabundance of planning and Dave picking out the best bits to form into a cohesive 4-hour session. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this style of co-GMing and also what you would classify your own writing style alignment is. P.S. The name is based off the Aragon book series. Oh, am I on a different...
Yeah, thanks for all the good laughs.
Oh, there we go. Thanks for all the good laughs and advice, Arya.
Now the PS.
Oh, now... okay, so that is the PS for this. Yeah.
See how the page is numbered 2, and then the next one is
Well, that's
3?
ridiculous, Kimmy. Who would possibly know that?
I'm sorry. Just such high expectations for everyone.
Bold of you to assume I can count. P.S.
Well, we know you can count because you can stitch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
No excuses.
No.
Damn it. P.S. The name is based off the Aragon book series and not Game of Thrones. I've been getting that question a lot and figured it'd be best to clarify.
Excellent.
But I don't know what name he's referring to. They're referring to.
Arya.
Oh, Arya. Oh, that Arya name. Okay, got it. Okay. Sorry.
It's
the
okay,
end
buddy.
of a
It's
very-
been a long week.
It has been such a long week.
Oh my god. Yeah.
All right, so
Yes, okay.
I'm going to go through quickly the writing style alignments chart. So at the top, like, okay, you've seen the alignments chart. Like, so it's got like the 9 boxes. So the tops are all the planster. Okay, right?
Pantser.
Pantser.
Yeah.
Pantser. Okay.
Pantser on the top.
Okay, Pantser is on the top. So there's lawful Pantser with writes everything in order, uses a flashlight method to get to the end, ends up in strange places, knows random details no one else cares about. Then there's neutral Pantser. These are very strange things. Okay.
Yeah.
Writes things as they come to them, not afraid to bounce around, knowing the end makes it boring. And chaotic Pantser writes completely out of order. What the fuck is a plot? Loves side fiction and writes whatever they are excited about. All right, one of you do Planster.
Yeah. Okay, a lawful planster. So this is the second row. It's all the plansters, people who plan.
Oh, by the way, I just want to say one thing. If you're confused by pantser, I believe it's because by the seat of your pants.
Oh yeah.
Just so that it's not
I was
just some
wondering. I
weird
was like,
PPP.
I
Yeah.
feel like this is like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I appreciate the alliteration though.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we'll go through the plansters.
Yes.
Okay, so a lawful planster knows the ending, writes towards it, loves to world build, uses character bios, and it has definitely taken personality tests for their characters.
Okay.
A true planster starts an outline, goes off script, and ends up in unexpected places. But that's okay. This is more interesting anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Chaotic planster has an idea of the plot when they start. Who writes things down? Has to assemble scenes into a Frankendraft. There I am.
And lastly, at the bottom, we have lawful plotter. Has detailed character bios, multi-page outline, organized by scene/chapter. Probably knows what color socks their main character wears on Tuesdays. The neutral plotter, brief outline, likes to use best beat sheets, modifies and updates outline as they go, thinks about writing character bios, rarely does. And lastly, the chaotic plotter. Writes scenes on little cards and tries to organize them on a board. Writes said scenes out of order. Copy and paste is your friend. So I have to say I kind of disagree with some of these right off the bat. To me, a true planster, someone who is, or maybe a lawful planster, would be someone who has a plan, does not deviate. And these all end up with went someplace unexpected. Mm-hmm. But we all know writers or game masters who have this story they want to tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you go outside the box, then it's invisible and penetrable walls.
Yeah. I do
I feel like that's lawful plotter. I feel like plotter is like the
That's the
extreme
railroader.
of the railroader. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
plot, like you have the entire plot done.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
That's at least
Yeah.
my take on it.
Yeah, I really, I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I will have more thoughts when I'm trying to go to sleep tonight. And I kind of feel like I want to write a 10-page essay on this issue, as well as the strategies for writing out an alignment chart like this, which I really disagree with the way it's laid out. So.
I don't think the question's about the chart, though.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's about us identifying, like, hey, which one's the closest
Hey,
to us?
this is our show. We're going to talk about what we want to talk about.
That's true. Okay, we can't. We can report the chart if you want.
No, seriously, I do find these things interesting as sort of a thought experiment. I do usually find them to be lacking in really catching the nuance of what I think is important.
What? A meme is lacking in, like,
What?
detail and, like, accuracy?
Yeah. But I do kind of like the idea of like playing with like what is your alignment. Yeah, I definitely am a chaotic planster. I think at heart that is generally where I end up. I have an idea of the plot when I start. I do not write things down, and I just kind of like I'm like, what are you doing? And I assemble that into a Franken draft. Especially with character creation. That's why I like Zero Sessions so much, is because I take what the characters come up with in their session 0, and then I build a plot around that sort of on the fly. And this is one of the reasons I like PBTA games so much, is because they have that built-in session 0 kind of stuff. And that's where I have the most fun. Yeah. I'm a little bit of a neutral plotter as well, though, because I do tend to use beat sheets, and I do a lot of thinking about writing character bios, but rarely do.
Okay, you have to pick one, Adam. These are highly scientific, accurate things, like our zodiac signs. Like, you cannot be an Aries and a Taurus at the same time. You are one.
Okay, so I am a chaotic Plancer sun with a neutral plotter moon and a true Plancer rising. Okay. Okay.
All right.
Go.
I'm defeated.
Although, in honesty, what I'd like to see this is one of those plotter charts where it's like more towards this,
Oh,
yeah,
towards
yeah.
that, more towards this, more towards that,
great,
the other
yeah.
side.
Yeah.
And that way, because I feel like I'm somewhere, like you were saying, in multiple ones of these, depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
So I would say, based off this directly, I start out with kind of a true Plancer. So I have kind of an outline and a script. But I am ready to throw all that out if my players are going somewhere else that seems more interesting. I think then I go into a chaotic pantser, because I don't really know what my plot is. I just sort of have come up with this one cool idea, and I have a vague idea of how I want it to end.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily... I won't say necessarily, I rarely end up at that point, because my players have much better ideas than I do. So, go with that. But I would never be I'm not lawful in any way here regarding this process.
Yeah.
I want to be, and in my head, there's probably a ton of that stuff. But when it actually comes to what I actually plot out, no, not so much.
So what is the flashlight method?
I don't know.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the lawful pantser, it says uses flashlight method to get to the end. I guess you just wander around and you see what's ahead of you.
Or I think you only reveal what's available. This is what I would assume it is that you have this all plotted out. You have everything in order. You only reveal what's necessary to get to the next step. So all of the stuff that the characters do not encounter is stuff that they don't get to know about the world building. That's what I would think of with the flashlight method, but could be wrong.
Yeah.
I actually think also, sorry, I know I keep changing my answer, but I think a lot of it also depends on, I think a lot of it depends on the game system.
Yeah.
Because I'm a chaotic
Oh,
planster
true.
for sure with PBTA, but when I'm doing World of Darkness, which is also something I love, I think I'm more of a lawful planster. And so, yeah, so I think that's going to change depending on the system for me.
Absolutely. I mean, there's GURPS, and I don't really care for that.
well, if they're upset about your opinion on GURPS, wait till they hear my opinion on Doctor Who.
I think for sure I'm a neutral pantser.
Neutral.
Yeah. So I write things as they come to them, not afraid to bounce around. Knowing the ending makes it boring.
Yeah.
That's very me.
Yeah, that sounds like you. Yeah.
Now I'm going to be running a One Ring game coming up. So I don't know if I'll still be the same for that system, because it'll be a new system. I might have to plan it a little bit more, because it is a little...
It's like Titanic. We know how it ends. The ring goes in the volcano.
Well, it's interesting because the system is set between, like, you're not supposed to play the party, and it's specifically set in like the 80 years between Bilbo getting the ring and then like the ring. Spoilers, the ring being thrown in Mount Doom at the end. So there's like 80 years. But it's set there, and it's like set in a specific part of Middle Earth. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I actually played a short campaign of it. It was fantastic.
Is it good? Oh, cool.
I really like the system a lot.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So please write in about the One Ring system. I'd love to talk about it more. But
I'd love to learn about it at all.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to write an email about how it works.
Right?
Okay. I'll send it into Adam.
Right? Yeah. Did you see my masterful meme that I created about it? Yes.
I laughed out loud.
Thank you.
It's very funny.
So, if you're not on the Happy Jacks Discord, I guess you're not going to see that. So
we'll tell you. He made the Anakin Padme in the field meme, where
and it's the Anakin's as Kimmy, and it says, "I'm going to run a One Ring campaign," and then Padme is labeled everyone in Happy Jacks, and it says, "You're going to cast me in that, right? You're going to cast me in that, right?"
And then Adam said, or sorry, me as
Kimmy just glares.
No facial expression change. Right?
Yeah, we're all going to be like, it's going to be like the Hunger Games trying to get into that particular campaign.
Hopefully, I have to learn how to play it first.
Yeah. It's actually not really hard.
Oh, that's
yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
It's a little more crunchy than I was expecting when I backed it on Kickstarter.
Yeah, it is crunchy, but it's crunchy in the way that like it's crunchy in the way that like the Genesis system is crunchy.
Okay.
You know,
I can handle that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, so
Doctor
Who is absolute trash, and nobody should be a fan of it in any way whatsoever.
Get out.
No, not Doctor Who. The Doctor Who RPG.
Oh, okay. I'm sure the Doctor Who RPG is fine.
You're serious?
The Doctor Who is trash, and nobody should have anything to do with it ever. Sorry. Yes. So yes.
What?
Let's.
This is actually my shock face. Like I had a fake shock face earlier,
We're
but this
really
is my
shocked.
actual shock
I'm telling
face.
you, no. I find.
I know a lot of people like this though. Actually.
Yeah. I've never liked Doctor Who. Every time there's a new Doctor, I've tried to get into it. I hate it. I think it's awful. I think they're like adherence to the kitschy special effects is just it is an affront to my aesthetic, and I have not liked any single one of them, and I've tried. I've been shown the Christmas specials. And yes, the David Tennant Christmas special, which I was assured was like, this is pretty much as good as Doctor Who gets. And I was like, this is awful. Why am I watching this?
Oh, I don't like any of the Christmas specials.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I did like, was it Torchwood? Torchstone? Torchwood.
Torchwood.
Yeah, Torchwood. I liked that
Because it's an
series.
anagram with Doctor Who.
I did like that series.
I have my glasses today.
Yeah. Especially the Torchwood American miniseries.
Yeah,
that was really good and terrifying. But yeah, otherwise, no.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is what usually shocks people. Everybody's like, Adam likes everything except Doctor Who.
Fascinating.
GURPS. We'll get to that
All right, this is an email coming up later in the show. So
later.
people are like,
Oh, you ruined the spoiler.
oh yeah, after saying spoilers.
I was gonna say. I just want to say
Yeah.
one thing about Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Mhm.
To me, because I started watching when I was a kid,
Uh-huh.
way back in the Tom Baker days.
Yeah.
To me, it represents the triumph of imagination over budget.
Uh-huh.
That's that, and as long as I frame it that way, then I don't mind that things are like I could have made something better than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because to me, it's just it's
Yeah.
like someone going for it, and I'm always happy for that.
Mhm,
Like someone
yeah.
who goes, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway.
So you're saying it's the karaoke of sci-fi?
Yes. I mean, I hate to agree with that, but yes.
I have just made so many of my friends so angry. I just want you all to know.
So I started watching Doctor Who a little bit.
Thank you for joining Adam/Phil.
Yeah.
Ever.
Will never be back.
Ban.
I like Doctor Who. It's fine. I think the only reason I ended up watching it because I'd kind of looked at it and I was kind of the same. I was like, I don't think this is for me. This is not something.
Yeah.
But I watched. My husband actually was like, not a Doctor Who. Like, this is not his weird. Like,
Mhm.
and he's like, I have to show you one episode of Doctor Who. It is one of the best, like shows I've ever seen. Like
Was
the way
it
it's
Blink?
constructed. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that everyone's like, you have to watch this one.
Yeah, well, and my husband's
Yes.
like in the industry and he like loves the way like shows and movies are put together and the shot
Yeah.
angles and all this stuff. So it was like someone like some like film or TV nerd friend of him showed him that. And neither
Mhm.
one of them have any interest in watching any of the rest of Doctor Who, but they just both
Yeah.
love that episode. So he's like, I watched this today. I know you're like terrified of anything scary. It's very scary, but I'll watch it together with you and I'll tell you when not to look. Which
Mhm.
it's not a great thing when you're watching that particular episode to not look at things. You're like, I'm not going to ever close my eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
But I watched that and that got me hooked. And it had enough of like the other little bits in it. I'm like, I feel like I should watch. I want to know
Yeah.
more about this.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an interesting kind of odd sidestep into the fandom and
Yeah.
watching it.
It's a good one, and I actually really like that episode too.
Mhm.
But I think it's a horrible episode to introduce Doctor Who to because it has like 3 minutes of the Doctor total in it.
Mm.
And if you get invested in these characters who you've just spent 49 minutes running around with and being scared of inanimate objects. By the way, your statue that you have in the thing,
Right?
Yeah.
every time I'm like, okay. But like I had some people go, oh, I saw this wonderful episode, but the rest of it I couldn't. Had essentially Adam's complaint that it was like this looked like it had a budget of $4.95 and was filmed by a kid.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah. For me, I was like excited
Yeah.
enough to like learn about those people. And then I got into it. And it's a great show to put on. Like when I watched all of it while I was prepping cosplay different years.
oh, mhm.
So it's a great show because you don't have to like look at it the whole time. I was
Yeah.
like sewing for 12 or 13 or 15 hours straight in
Yeah.
a day because, Comic-Con's next week and I
Right,
planned
yeah.
really well. So it's great. You just put that on and you have like
You were just
a couple
telling us
years.
about how well you planned doing
Right?
a costume.
So good at that.
My daughter has a costume I'm supposed to finish by Monday, and I have all the fabric, and I have so much stuff, and I just have to do it. But anyway, that's how
I do like. It's not one of those. I don't look at Doctor Who fans and think that they're particularly trash. I mostly
particularly
right, yeah,
Just
particularly
trash, but
yeah,
not particularly
yeah.
trash.
It's one of those things that I do like to over exaggerate how much I dislike it because
funny.
of the fun interactions I get with geeks.
Oh, stop. No, what are you doing?
But I love the audio. Somebody please clip that. Trash, but not particularly trash. Yeah, I feel like that's the Countess from Downton Abbey.
Yes.
Line. Trash, but not particularly trash.
That'll be my new text message alert sound when you call
Right?
or when you text.
Yes.
Trash, but not particularly trash.
I would be so excited. But yeah, I do kind of.
Hey, we could clip that and use it for any ads we do in the future.
That'll go well.
Oh my god, I love it.
Hey, like I tell my friends, you knew I was a scorpion when you picked me up. So if they still want to give us money and know that we're going to do that,
That's
then
what we're
that's
gonna
fine.
do.
They've agreed.
Yep.
It's true. Yeah.
Consenting adults.
So there was a question in here about co-GMing as well.
That's the other
yeah.
thing. Like, I'm trying to decide, and Dave is trying to decide whether he might co-GM One Ring with me.
Oh,
If he really wants to run it, and I really want to run it, and we both want to run it.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, maybe we can co-GM.
I think it would be a good one to co-GM in a lot of ways because there's a lot of basically it's got a lot of meat to it, and it can be very, very different in different phases of it. Like if you've looked at it, there's the journey phase, there's the fellowship phase, there's the adventure phase, and you could play them in like 3 very different ways, and and take as long as you want in each one if you want. So cool. Yeah, it was really it's really interesting. I think there's a lot of fun there to be had, and I think you could you could have somebody who kind of runs the adventure stuff, which is the more traditional like combat skill checks, things happen, and then the journey phase and the fellowship phase are more like, so the journey phase is more like building character as you get there, right? And then the fellowship phase is more of like it's almost more like codas or what do we call it? Epilogues. In the sense that you sort of like stop and you reflect on what's happened, and that's where you make a lot of your changes in your character and growth and stuff. That's cool. Yeah, so you could play very more traditional combat skill heavy in some of it, and then play very free flowing just character talk and character building and world building in another phase. And so that could be a good way to trade it off and to share that. Yeah.
And I think Dave and I would work. We hang out so much. Like I feel like he and I have very similar GMing styles and story styles. I think he plans a little more than I do.
Yeah.
But not a lot more than I do. So I think we'd probably work well together that way. I haven't truly co-GM'd a game, gosh, in a really long time.
Yeah.
I've done it at cons a couple times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't really ever done it for like campaign.
Yeah. I used to do it a lot, and Jason and I co-GM'd a lot together when we first started gaming together. But basically, a lot of it has been since getting on Happy Jacks, and also since COVID, especially. Like, just kind of like stopped doing any kind of co-GMing kind of stuff. So.
Well, it's hard because at the last studio, we only had one seat.
Right.
You could not sit next to each other. So now we have a place where 2 GMs can sit next to each other, like very easily.
Yeah.
And still have 4 players.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a possibility. I think we might go for it. I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I am very particular about co-GMing because I like not having this like set plan, and not a lot of people are comfortable with that. And you have to be, especially when you're a neutral pantser. Like you have to have someone who's also a neutral pantser, or it's somewhere in that same sort of. Yeah. Because if you have someone who's planned it all out and someone who's not planning it all, that just it causes conflict and it ruins the fun for the person who doesn't like planning.
Well, and I think it's okay to talk about this at this point, but that was one of the difficulties that Mac and I had when we co-GM'd Carefree High, the Monster Arts game here, and I was very much a seat of the pants kind of GM, and I didn't have any plans, and I just kind of played with things as they came along, and then there was a point where Mac is much more of a planner, and there was a point where I just sort of like did something off the cuff, and I wasn't actually like in the GM seat for that particular episode. I was a player, but she started a scene with her character and another character, and so I kind of stepped in to help. Yeah. Which we had done before in successful ways. Yeah. But this particular time I just I threw something out that just completely derailed something she had been planning. And and we realized, okay, I didn't know she had been planning that, and she didn't think I was gonna just like throw out something to completely derail it. So,
Yeah.
and so that was a serious issue that came up, and we
Yeah.
had to do a lot of talking out to discuss that.
Yeah.
So,
I think one of the key things, and like, as much as we were teasing about the alignment chart, like it's something important to consider, not specifically the alignment chart, but like your styles of GMing. Because you and Mac are really good friends.
Yeah.
And like get along super well, have very similar taste
my
in
God,
like
yeah.
stories and things like that. And everything seems so aligned. But then when that one piece didn't match up, it was really difficult. And it was hard for people at the table. It was hard for both of you.
Yeah.
And it caused a lot of strain, like, while you're trying to run the game, because like you were both trying to make the other person happy, but we're uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really good lesson to learn. And and I think there is, like, if you're a very different kind of GM to somebody else that you're going to co-GM with, I think that's fine, but you just gotta like talk it, like we say with a lot of other stuff, have an adult conversation and talk about your boundaries and your your limits, your style. Yes, you have an adult conversation there. But I think that's if you're gonna do a co-GMing thing, I think that's the most important thing is communicate, talk to each other about who's gonna do what. Because if you do leave it up to that's one thing you can't leave to on the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Is the figuring out who's going to pants it and who's going to plot it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and like if you are the one who's going to be plotting, make sure you're telling the other person like these are the things you cannot mess with.
Yeah.
And and that's still really difficult. Like even that like makes me like tense up as a pantser. I'm like,
right.
Oh God, like I can't.
What?
But what if it's really interesting that way? So like so. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Dave and I do great with that.
Yeah.
Because we're both similar that way, and both he and I have run games for each other and run games with each other and talked about running games enough times that we know that about each other.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will go well. I feel like it's a little lower stakes for people who are doing GMing in home games.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, hey, I'm just gonna step back. You can take over.
Right.
So it's like if you're streaming or like a public game, it's a little harder.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I put so much pressure on that game to be the perfect example of Monster Hearts ever, and it it blew up in a lot of ways because I refused to acknowledge that we might have had a challenge. I just was not willing to no, it's going to be fine and we're doing it and it's okay because I'm going to play the perfect Monster Hearts game.
Yeah.
And and that was just that put a lot of blinders on me as a co-GM, not being open to oh, okay, well, maybe we've had some difficulty here. Maybe we need to pull back and talk about it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we'll just keep going. We'll be fine. We'll work it out.
Yeah.
And
Well, also you were busy falling in love at the table, so.
Well, that's true. Yes.
So it was the perfect Monster Heart.
It was. I was a little distracted. Yeah.
I have never co-GM'd with anyone, and that's because no one can GM as well as I do. Which is not true at all. That was entirely for effect. My ideas are the best.
You are a very good GM.
No, I'm not.
I think
But-
you are.
I don't think I've ever played in a game you've GM'd, actually.
Very few people have, because I don't GM a lot of games, because I don't feel confident that I can do it well.
Ah,
I
interesting.
think you're
Okay.
amazing. I've watched them. I didn't get to play in them, but
Yeah.
we've watched them.
Yeah.
All right.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Challenge accepted.
All right. Well, I was actually going to talk about when we do new shows that I might want to.
Oh, I almost messaged you today about that.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
there
was
you go.
like, hey, Cast
You
House
heard
is
it
kind
from
of
first.
ending soon. Would you be interested?
I do actually.
Okay.
I have something that I'd
Yeah.
be excited to run.
Yeah,
I
that'd be awesome.
do want to point out, so our PGM Sean in the chat says, Lawful Plotter's game might be like trying to build a pristine and balanced pyramid of playing cards. The chaotic pantser storms in and runs around blowing down the card pyramid and giggles when running away.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I may, a better description might be the chaotic pantser comes in and starts flicking cards like Gambit to try and add to the castle, but because they're trying to contribute. They
The
just-
lawful
Right.
plotters frantically grabbing them and trying to carefully balance them. No, flip, flip, flip. Okay. That's very good. All right.
That's brilliant.
Oh, we're still on.
Yeah, so I think we're
Email
in-
number 2, please.
I think we answered email number 1.
Yeah, we did.
So I think you should do 2 because I think I should do 3, unless you want to flip that.
I think we should flip it. I want to
Okay.
read it, and then you can like talk about it.
Okay, fair enough. Kimmy et al. I write today with a question/thought experiment on what reasonable expectations are for a con game, both from a player and from a GM perspective. I'll frame the question with an example from a few years ago. Back in the before times, I feel like the kids from Beyond Thunderdome. I'm looking behind us now, across the count of time, down the long hall into history back.
Oh, that is so accurate. It hurts.
Yeah, it
Oh,
really
yeah.
is.
Ouch.
I think the before times started as sort of a joke, and now is just kind of like, yep, nope, they were the before times.
Back when they were like, oh, this will be like a 2-week thing. Oh, a 2-month thing.
Yeah.
Oh, a 6-month thing. And now 3 years later, we're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forever thing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
We don't need another hero.
that was very good.
Thank you.
That was very good.
Thanks. I've spent a lot of time practicing Tina Turner impersonations, actually. Okay.
All right, back to the email.
Yeah.
The before times, I attended a con game and was thrown off because it was wildly not what I was looking for. I signed up for a classic traveler game, hoping for a gritty character creation session where I might die before the game actually started, set out in a free trade or a scout ship to explore the galaxy. What I got was a Monty Hall point buy, high skill, high equipment mercenary battle session with tiny miniatures moving 1 inch across a massive battle mat.
Oh,
Oh, no. It's
Now,
very different.
in this case, perhaps I didn't properly read or process the game blurb. Q. Thank you. Or perhaps my expectation was off on what a typical traveler game should be. In any case, I was somewhat disappointed because the game was not what I was looking for. Stepping back from this particular example, as a player, I've historically viewed con games as opportunities to learn and dabble in systems that I don't normally get a chance to play. So I'm often looking for a vanilla or typical session in that system/setting. Alternatively, they can be fun takes on what if you used a system in a different way, or an interesting concept like Mission Imbartable. Obviously, there's a place for either or both, and I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yum. That being said, what do you all find yourselves wanting to play and or run at cons? Do you feel any obligation to represent a specific game system? Do you attempt to advertise your games as typical or atypical, or leave it to the players to find out? Do you use con games to learn new games? I have the honor to be your obedient servant, Steve in SoCal.
Steve in SoCal.
Well, Mr. SoCal.
yes. I absolutely use cons as a chance to try new systems, especially if it's stuff that I've kickstarted or like heard about, or even like really traditional games that are well known, but none of us really like play them very often. Before I shell out a bunch of money for a system, I usually want to like get an idea of if I'll like it. So I definitely do that. Yeah. So I think it's kind of like I don't know, when you go to the mall, or back in the before times when we went to the mall.
Right.
The
The what?
The what?
Yes, I know. And like you like buy a bunch of pick a bunch of stuff up, put it in your cart, and take it all to the trying on room and the changing room. That's what this is called. Sorry, it's been a really long time. And like you're like, okay, and then you end up just like taking the ones you like. So I feel like cons are a good way to just kind of browse that and like try things on, see if it works a little bit, and check out the book and like in person, because who buys? I don't buy books in person very much anymore. And that sort of thing. So I feel like they're a really great opportunity for that.
I'm still fairly new to cons, I feel, because I just started going to cons after Happy Jacks, after I joined Happy Jacks, and so so I haven't been to that many, and I still haven't run at a con, other than running on stream, for a Happy Jacks game, but
It doesn't really count.
it doesn't.
Unless you're getting weird strangers at your table,
No,
it's not.
no, it was well, I mean, it was weird strangers,
or even
but they were
normal
my friends.
strangers.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I just so when I've gone to con games, I've generally looked at it more as an adventure. Like, what are my other friends going to go play? And then I want to like go tag along with them. So it's kind of like oh, Joey wants to go play this game. And so that sounds fun. I'll join on that. Or or Kimmy's going to be playing this game and this session, so and so I'll go and see what that's like. So I think like when I've been looking at schedules and seeing what to sign up for, generally I haven't been super experimental. I've typically been looking for games like systems and games that I know I like, or something that I was super interested in, like the Star Trek Adventures game. I got to play that for the first time at a con. But otherwise I'm looking for things that are games that I know and I want to play, and preferably have at least one of my friends already in it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that makes sense.
When I go and do con games, I'm kind of a mix between the two. I like to have some old familiar tastes, whether that's just a system that I'm very familiar with, and I also like to try new things. Most specifically, what I honestly look for is I look for an interesting pitch, and I'm always happy to win a new game or learn a new game. Happy to win games too, but to learn a new game. But I want the idea of what it's going to be to resonate with me, because it can be a system that I love, but if it's not something I care about, then I'm not going to have a good time. I can always pick up rules or fake it long enough to get through a con game. So I'm always looking for something that is interesting to me. Like I care less about the system and more about, is this something that I want to play?
Yeah. I have seen like blurbs on schedules and been like, oh, that sounds interesting. I don't know this system, or I don't know this person or anything, but it sounds like an interesting idea, and I'll go do that. So yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because like I spent a bunch of time writing my blurbs, so they're very interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like the selling point. Like,
well, because they don't know anything else about.
Yeah.
In theory, like obviously we're very slightly well known in the community. We're slightly internet famous.
Well, more than that, we're slightly famous at the very small local con that we
That's
go
true.
to all
Right,
the time.
yeah.
All right, so people know us there.
We're like celebrities at these cons.
No, we are infamous. Nobody wants to have their game in the room with the other Happy Jacks games.
Yeah.
They put all the Happy Jacks games in the same rooms together because we're all loud and okay with each other.
Yes, yeah. Or we just did, like the last time we just did Patio Con, where we all got rooms on the patio, and we just like camped to this one table the entire weekend, and we pretty much had a game going there 24/7 the entire weekend long, and it was just like, and it would just trade out, like it's all the same people. All our Happy Jacks friends and some of our favorite people that we game with there.
Right. Hey, should I run something?
Right.
Like, oh, okay, that was fun. Anyone else who wants to go next?
And it would just like, okay, I'm tired, so I'm going to sit out the next one. I'm going to go sleep, or I'm going to go to the dealer's room so somebody else can jump in and sit.
Yeah.
What I did want to continue on, though, was I appreciate it when someone tells me in their blurb if this is sort of like a standard representation or if this is whatever. Like if someone says this is a gonzo off the wall, whatever, then I know that they're by the seat of their pants of whatever system they're going to do. And that's fine. But if I want to learn a system, I'm with you. I want to sit down and play the typical type, because that's going to teach me more about the game than if we're, if there's like 17 homebrew rules and they're not even using this part and we're just going to go do crazy stuff. That can be fun, but that's not what I'm looking for when I'm trying to learn a game.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to agree with that. Yeah, I think spelling that out in your blurb, I think, is a really nice thing to do. That way you catch the people who do want to do the traditional thing and the people who are fine with off-the-wall stuff. Both of them know whether or not they're getting into something that they're going to like, or more likely to.
Right. It's also really important as someone who's signing up for games at conventions, though, that you make sure that you have an accurate idea of a system. There's a lot of these systems that can be played both ways. I've played Stu's Traveler games, which are very much not like this point by massive high skill, massive equipment, mercenary battle session at all.
Yeah.
But there are mechanics in Traveler that facilitate games like that. Like you can have a very combat heavy Traveler game and still be within the bounds of the system. And I feel like more people probably play that style than play Stu's style, which is like very few combats, mostly talking,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Right,
So,
and combat is completely deadly.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I don't know, you might want to double check on that, because there are most systems can vary wildly with the same mechanics based on the GM and who's running
Yeah.
it and what flavor game they want to play. That's especially true of games like Traveler that have a lot of like Traveler has a whole bunch of weapons. Like you
Yeah.
can go through the weapons charts and like get them and stuff. So that right there, like you want to double check. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes, a blurb is like, "Oh, fighting for freedom and blah blah blah," and you're like, "I don't know, this sounds fun, but I have no
Right,
idea
yeah.
if this means that we're going to be giving speeches and like trying to like get
Plotting
these,
the underground.
yeah, and doing other things, or like no, we're doing a
No, we're literally fighting for freedom.
like
Yeah.
a 4-hour slowly moving the across
Yeah.
the mat, like battle for every inch. So
Right?
so it can be hard, and I feel like that sometimes when you have to take that opportunity to like when you show up at a session, or
Yeah.
some cons have a way to like message the people ahead of time.
Mhm.
Some don't, but it's a lot of times if you can like tweet at somebody or like, "Hey, you're running this game at a con. What can you give me more information on the flavor or whatever?" Or just go a little bit early.
For example,
Mhm.
JackerCon
Yes.
has individual channels. If you sign up for a game and you're interested in it, that you can find out a little bit more or talk to the game master and just feel it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plug.
Yeah. If you're in and if you're in an in-person game, like show up a little bit like early, just be like, "Hey, like what can you tell me a little bit more about this?"
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to like walk away. Like cons are like precious resources.
Yeah.
Like you only have so many hours in a con.
Yeah.
And for many people it's like the only one they go to a year or whatever. It's like don't feel obligated to spend that time not having a good time.
Yeah.
Right.
And it also, especially if it's a really popular system, there's likely somebody who's kind of waiting around to see if there's going to be a cancellation or a no-show so that they can jump in on that game.
You might make someone's con.
Right, exactly, yeah. And you get up there and you're like, "Hey, what do you think about encumbrance rules?" "Oh, I love encumbrance rules." "Oh, okay, well, this is
my
the game for
alarm
me.
just
I
went
gotta go." But somebody else out there is like, "Oh my God, I can use my encumbrance tables that's personally generated." Yeah. But,
I've been wanting to track all my arrows.
right? Yeah. Like,
Here's the other way to do it is you go into the con room and you go stand by a different table and you watch the game master get prepared. And if it's like all minis and mats, then you can go like, "Oh, I don't want to play a combat game," and just bail right there and see if
Go
you can sign
scratch
up
your
for
name
something
off.
else. Yeah.
right, yeah. So, yeah.
That's a good. That's smart.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah.
good.
It's really good. Yeah.
I'm not that crafty. I didn't think.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Well,
use
I'm
it
one
now.
of those people that like
I was half kidding, but
uh,
also
It's
it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
if I walked away from somebody's table knowing that and they knew that the reason was because I didn't want to play in their game anymore, like I would be devastated every time I saw that person for the rest of the weekend. It would always take me a long time to find a new hairstylist when I would move to a new city, because I would go to a salon, and if I didn't like that particular stylist, I had to find an entirely new salon. I could not go back to the same salon and say, "Well, I want a different person," because now that person knows that I wasn't just some like random person who just be happening through. I rejected them. And that I could not bear.
Oh,
So, yeah.
you're so sweet.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're honest with them and it's not like something super personal,
Yeah.
like you're not that, "Oh, you're doing a bad job," just like, "Hey, I just don't have it in me to do a big combat
Yeah.
game like this tonight."
Right,
Like,
yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah, minis aren't for me. I
yeah,
know,
like that's not a personal judgment. It's
Yeah.
not, a knock on them as a GM. It doesn't mean they're doing a bad job. They can be doing a phenomenal job of what you didn't want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, wow, you are the best cheesemaker ever, and I'm just a little lactose
I'm-
intolerant,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate all the work you put into that amazing cheese. This is my friend Kimmy, who loves cheese.
Right.
Give all the cheese to her.
Right.
And
Yeah.
sorry, I'm hungry. I didn't have dinner. But
yeah.
so I feel like that's a fun. I mean, and
Yeah.
if you have to, I mean, to me that's less awkward than like pulling the I have to go to the bathroom, and I'm taking my entire gaming bag with me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. At least I think at least be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and then
be honest or just don't show.
Right, and then you can just, and then if they run into you or somehow know who you are, oh my god, I completely forgot.
Oh, yeah.
I ended up taking a nap, and my alarm didn't go off, and like, no one
It took my pizza so long to get here,
Right,
and I
yeah.
just couldn't,
Yeah.
That's also like the problem. Like everybody assumes that everybody like is paying attention to them.
Oh yeah.
It's like
yeah.
98% chance like they would not even notice that
Oh, yeah.
like it was you who walked back into that salon. No
Oh yeah.
offense.
Yeah. No.
But,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very
like,
true.
Yeah. So.
well, I know they'll notice me because there are a lot of 6'6" students with a purple mohawk that walk into the
Right.
salon. But
Maybe.
so I did one, and I didn't even think that she was bad, but I
Uh-huh.
just didn't want to like. I have a weird thing where I want to be a regular, but I also don't want to be recognized.
Uh-huh.
So I went back
That's
to.
hard.
It's really hard. So I went back to the place, and I was just like, oh, whoever. And the next available person just did it because I was really just like, I just need you to,
Yeah.
tighten up because I do it mostly by
Yeah.
myself, but occasionally you're like, oh, I put a little nick in,
Right,
whatever. And then he was asking me something. I was like, oh, he was like, who did this before? I was like, oh, I don't know. And the lady was right there. And she was like, oh, it was me. And I just like felt bad. And then I never went back there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Then I went 100% just doing it myself.
Yeah.
Right.
See, if it had
Yep.
been me, like I was like, I don't remember her name. That amazing, what right over there? This amazing person, like it's just like, and hopefully I was like
Yeah.
jokey enough that it would like pull it off. 'Cause
Right,
I'm
yeah.
so bad with names.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I wouldn't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my brain has this much space for names,
Yeah.
and like this much of it is taken up by 36 kids every year. That
Oh.
it's a lot of names that rotate every 9 months. It's just
Yeah.
like a lot. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the last thing I'd probably say on this is that, anybody who's GMing at a con doesn't want somebody there who's not having a good time anyway.
Yeah.
So that like if you're not going to enjoy the game, I don't think they're really going to be upset that you bow out of it.
I would
not even just the
100%,
GM,
yeah.
the players.
Yeah, the
like
players.
if you're a bummer at the table, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I 100% would rather have 3 players at a table than 3 players and a 4th player who is tolerating the game.
Right? Yeah.
Because I'd rather throw that focus instead of trying to pull them along and
Yeah.
like, lead that horse to water, make them drink, like which you cannot do. I'm a horse
Right.
girl. I know these things. Like
Not just expression.
yeah, like spending all that energy as a GM to try and get them engaged and try and
Right.
get them
Yeah.
interested. Like just throw that focus to the
Especially
people
for
who are
a con
interested.
game. You've
Yeah.
got 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
If the person's not into it, then cool. Then you can sit over there and be quiet.
Right.
Just talk to these people who want to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like I'm thinking of the last con, I was running Starscape, and Jameson had to leave. He did not leave because he wasn't having a good time. He had a thing from at home.
No, it was a household
Yeah.
emergency.
Yeah, which is
I
totally
know
fine.
all about it. He's a good friend of mine.
No. We've seen it. We know.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
We love James.
But like they were like it was kind of interesting because it made this other guy's day. Like he was just kind of hanging out. His game had like ended off to the side like super early
Oh.
because the GM had a similar thing where like she had to go because something happened, so she wrapped up really fast. So in a 4-hour session, like he'd only played for like 2 hours,
Uh-huh.
which was hot. It's kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But then like James and I was like, hey, you don't feel like playing a game, right? And it was just like it ended up working out perfectly where he
Huh.
was super like interested and like, oh, but this is really interesting, and like he just had like all this energy that he brought in.
Yeah.
So it like he was able to like salvage that time, and I don't know, it's being flexible with the players at a convention game. I know a lot of people tend to be very rigid about it. Like, no, these are my players. We have 4 hours. We've got to get through this. Like I find, I mean, maybe that's why I'm a pantser. Like I just found like it was really cool to have like this like new player pop in like partway through. It like invigorated and added a bunch of energy to the game. I mean, we missed Jameson.
Sure,
Would have loved to have seen him be his. Would love to see his civilian. But it was just kind of interesting to have that happen because I'd never quite had it happen that same way before.
Yeah.
So we're way off topic here, and I know we're running late, but I just want to tell
We're,
this
not,
quick.
we're fine.
Okay. I just want to tell this quick story,
Okay.
which is when I barely knew any of the Happy Jacks people, and I showed up at a con, And the game that I had signed up for didn't happen because I was the only player who signed up. So it just, crapped out. And I walked around and I saw the game that Kimmy, woo, how much is this alcohol?
Yeah.
I saw the game that Kimmy was running, and I was just sitting over off to the side and observing. It was like, oh, I'll just wait for my next game. It's fine, and this will be entertaining. And she pulled me in. In fact, had to twist my arm a little bit. She kept asking, are you sure? No, come on, sit down. I was like, no, it's fine. You've got this thing set up. I was being all polite, and she was like, no, seriously. And she handed me a character, and I started to play, and I had a great time. And I found out later that the character she'd given me was actually the villain of the piece, and she created a new villain just to do that because she already had this character made and gave it to me and did that. And it was a very sweet moment.
Oh, I never heard that story.
Just never let you leave.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And here I am. I am not shackled to the floor at all. I promise.
It's not the
Shackled to the wall?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
The floor,
not the
no.
floor. Yes. Yeah, that was back when I was like still pretty new to GMing, and I like actually like wrote up things, so I had a planned bed at the end.
What game?
What is Wild Talents?
It was
Right?
Wild Talents.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the Wild Talents High School.
That's
thing where
right.
everyone sat down thinking they were going to be students, but they were the teachers.
Yes.
Which was a fun little twist.
That was fun. That was when I was like, okay, we're gonna have a twist for every game,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
people started guessing like, oh, what's the twist gonna be? So I was like, oh, that kind of
Twist is no twist.
no twist.
Right.
Well, now I'm busy like playtesting games. So there's,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
twist is this is a new system and there's gonna be problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Twist is I don't know the rules either.
We'll change it at the table. It'll be fun. But yeah, that was good. All right. Thank you for that. That was nice. Like a little trip down memory lane.
I'm just trying to push back this third email. That's what's
Yeah.
going on.
No, I want the third email.
All right.
Never touch the third email.
Email in the third.
But that's where the power is.
I know.
Yes.
Thank you for
You're
giving
welcome.
it. Yeah.
Oh man. Hey, howdy, buckaroos. I've enjoyed listening to the new shows as much as I have the old ones and never felt a need to write in before. That changed with episode 12, season 30.
You're welcome.
The email was from a newish listener, Conrad, asking about systems. I love how newish is like someone who's started listening in the last like 7 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Newish listener, Conrad, asking about systems for running a historical game that he had planned. Several good suggestions were discussed, and I'm sure he got some ideas from it. I have no thoughts on that topic, but instead feel the need to call out Nick.
Ooh, burn!
Dun, dun,
Called out.
I'll see you in the schoolyard at 3:00.
My cat brother from JuckerCon for his comments about GURPS. Yeah. Sorry, Susan had to do it, so I have to do it.
Yeah.
In truth, I didn't mean to call it Nick specifically because he is not the only person who has done it on the show. Well, apparently recommending GURPS as a potential system or ladder. Wait, did I
Or
read that?
later.
Or later, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
A resource for the game idea, he felt the need to point out that he did not care for the system. Twice. As I said, others have done this in the past, but this time, as an admitted GURPSian,
Gurpsian?
how do you say that? I need more cider. I felt the need to say something. Does this happen to other systems? People acknowledge the virtues of it while making the point that I'm not a fan. Not to fault anyone for their opinion. I'm about to unfault their... Okay, sorry. I just found it odd that this one system seems to get that sort of commentary more than others, but I may be biased. Thanks for your time. Keep up the excellent work. Patrick at Pitts, P-I-T-S.
So, Clouder Brother. I actually like I read this and I was seriously thinking about it, and I apologize if that it's a horrible apology. I apologize. I'm sorry that it made you feel like I was calling out a system that you really like. I don't think that I do it more than
You don't.
I don't think I bring it up very often, but I feel that I don't feel that I do it to GURPS more than I do it to other systems as well.
Yeah.
I feel that I'm pretty clear about a system that I like or a mechanic that I like, even if I don't like the rest of the game. And when I was specifically calling that out, the thing that I love about GURPS absolutely is their source books are amazing. They have a ton of them. They're very well researched, and it's absolutely a high quality product, even if you don't run the game that you're running in that system. Yeah. So if it, I'm sorry it appeared that I was trashing it or calling it out. I will try and be aware of that in the future, but I'm also going to do that for other games. Yeah. Like, literally, I'm going to say to someone, Shadowrun's great unless you don't like rolling dice. Because they're going to roll just a crap ton of dice. Or Hero System, which is the other universal system, which I do happen to like, same deal. If you don't want like every little thing marked down on a sheet, that's not your jam, you're not going to like this game. Yeah. But
I'm going to say, this is nice of you, but we're not going to apologize for stuff like that. Because, I mean, this is why, like, one, we don't take ads and we don't do sponsorships and we don't, like, get, you know, because, like, we want to be honest about how we feel about games.
And is this where I burp into the mic?
We're trying to cut
this
that down.
This is where you burped into the mic.
The mic burping is something that I am trying to actively cut down on.
I wasn't sure. I actually was going to start when I started showing up belching into the mic.
Yeah, the lack of burping is one of the woke nonsense new changes to the Snappy Jacks that we're okay with.
Yeah. But, I get that you are a huge fan of GURPS. Absolutely. I totally understand. I like GURPS. But I like that people on the show like give their opinions. Mm-hmm. And I like that you're like, hey, this might be good for us. I don't like it, but I think like for what you're looking for, it sounds like this would be a good match. That's like me. Like, I hate peanut butter. Like I've always hated peanut butter. I'm not allergic to peanut butter, but since I was a tiny little child, I refused to eat it because it is the grossest thing ever, other than like mushrooms and tomatoes. But I realized that my daughter loves peanut butter, and that a peanut butter sandwich is super easy to make her for lunch every day. And so I hold peanut butter in my hand and I put it and I make a peanut butter sandwich because I love her. Knife. I do that. But I smell the peanut butter.
Oh God, I hate this.
It's sticky, and no matter what, it like a little gets on my hand. I have to wash my hands off. So it's like
I just made myself lightheaded for that.
You can absolutely not like GURPS, and I'm cool with you 100% saying that all the time, Nick. You have my permission to be like, GURPS is the worst thing ever. I hate it, but if you like GURPS, it's good. Like, don't yuck my yum or whatever. That's fine, but you can also be honest about your yucks and yucks. You can't be like, oh, I can't believe you like GURPS. It's ridiculous. It's terrible.
Right, yeah.
But you can be like, GURPS is not for me. GURPS is not my thing.
Yeah.
So you hear that, Patrick? You're wrong.
You're wrong.
I retract my apologies. You're just going to have to live with it.
We love you, Patrick, but we're not
How dare you? No. I find GURPS to be trash, and particularly trash. I honestly, if you had to name my 3 biggest things that I offend other geeks with, it's Doctor Who, GURPS, and my absolute utter hatred for, and this is the hill I'll die on, and this is the one that I'm most passionate about, and I will come for you. I fucking hate flames on the side of my face, flames burning, twisting, Mad Max Fury Road. The worst fucking movie that has probably ever been made. I hate it, and I want it to die. So those are the 3 things that, like, if you want Adam to get in a fight with other nerds, bring up one of those 3 issues.
Can we take Adam off of my Mad Max game I was gonna pitch?
Now, if you want to play Mad Max Thunderdome, absolutely, because that's one of the best movies ever made.
Because you run Bartertown?
I run Bartertown. You better believe it.
Oh man, like those of you listening to the podcast, my face was like aghast and just like.
Yeah,
I was
Timmy
clutching
was personally offended.
My non-existent pearls. Like, oh my!
Why are you gagging so? She bring it to you every bowl. No, look, GURPS was not for me. I tried it. I did not like it at all. Yeah. Not at all. And I like crunchy, minis on a hex map D&D. I just found GURPS to be very unappealing and very difficult to deal with. But that also probably had to do with my one experience with it, and I've just never really gone back to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
see, I was lucky enough that Stu ran it for me, and he's good, and then Mook. Most of my GURPS playing has been with Mook.
Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, like it's like there's nothing to compare to that. It's like the first time you ever like have French food, you're in a small cafe in Paris. Like it's like, oh, okay, this is as good as it's ever going to be. There's never going to be a better GURPS experience than with when we played with Mook.
Yeah. I worked up and to playing with Mook. And honestly, he was great. Yeah. And that's sort of why I look for people and I look for situations more than I look for a particular game.
Yeah.
But prior to that, I'd tried to play it as a kid or, as a teenager. I'd owned one of the versions and tried to give that a shot. And then I went to a game, which one day I might write up as a horror story because it was absolutely the worst game I've ever played in any system at any time ever. I probably should write that up.
Yeah.
But then, like after having said that, I got to sit in on a Mook game, and that was a lot of fun. Like he made me understand why people like the system.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it still isn't for me, but I could totally get behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I probably had the right person running it who like really grokked my personal style, I would probably enjoy it. But I do want to push back and I do want to say, like, this does happen on other systems. There's been a lot of anti D&D sentiment on the show from numerous people. I know, right? Yeah, and and I've listened to a lot of the advice shows that I wasn't on, and I'm like, how dare they? D&D is awesome. I've had those kinds of reactions too, and like in some of them, some of the hosts we have were not fans of PBTA, and and I'm like, well, that's not right at all, But I mean, to me, that's part of the fun is that we have different ideas and different things, different tastes about these things, and that's one of the reasons I like this community is because we all enjoy playing with each other, even if we might not have the exact same taste in games.
Right.
And like Stu played in a PBTA game with us, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and he hated every minute of it.
And he hated it, but it was so good.
He was good.
The highlight of that particular game. It was so good. And I would like listen to I know you guys all hated the new Legend of the Five Rings.
L5R, the beta,
system. And I loved it. I read the whole thing. I'm like, this is awesome. And, and I was like, I want to be in this game.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it was the beta too. Like, to be fair, like, I think that's a big, like, I've wanted to like kind of revisit it and see, because it was a hot mess of a beta.
But I'm just going to say, if you loved it and all of your players didn't like it, I got some news for you, buddy.
Well, no, I wasn't running that one. I wasn't running it.
I know.
No, I wasn't. No, I was playing. No, because
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was Jason running it. It was Rainbow Railroad.
Oh, that's right.
And Stu subbed in because I think it was because you couldn't be there actually.
I was talking about Avatar.
Oh, the Avatar.
In the backyard, yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. That was another one where I loved the system, but all of you were like, no.
We really wanted to like it, but there was...
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't think any of us revisited it since the finished product has happened. If that has happened by now, I don't know. I haven't kept track of it. But we all had some opinions about the way that certain things worked that were not exactly clear.
Yeah, right, well, I'm going to be like 100% honest with that. I think because I love Avatar so much, I'm such a huge fan of that show and that world, and I think I'd thought about how it would work in PBTA so many times.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The fact that what they made didn't match what I had. And not even that it didn't match exactly, but it was like so different and so much crunchier than I thought you'd need it to be. Yeah. I think that was a thing. So I have wanted to revisit that too.
Interesting.
And by the way, I do want to say I enjoyed the hell out of that game.
I did too.
Like the sessions we played were so
we
good.
had a ton of fun. So there's absolutely, I was joking when I was
I know. your characters were phenomenal. This was a home game that we played during COVID. Those of us who did a regular Saturday night thing, and it was the three of us as well as Jason and Joey and Dave. And so and I got the beta rules for the Avatar PBTA game, and I ran it because I love Avatar and I love PBTA, and I was like, these people will be amazing. And the character generation, the session 0 and the role play that we did was phenomenal. But the combat system, everybody was like, we should have just like scrapped the combat and just been like, okay, just do whatever you want.
We're gonna have a LARP now. We're gonna
right?
have
We're gonna do an Avatar LARP. Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I do need to go back and look at it again, because I do think it's probably been refined slightly since, because it was a pretty early beta too that we did.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see how it ended up developing. I did back it. I should have a copy of it. It's probably one of the 25 games that I found hiding in my spam email the other day. But yeah, I am interested in going back to that. So But yeah, I mean, I think I honestly like us being honest so that people know when they listen to us. Like we run games because we are interested and we like them. Like we do actual plays because of that, not for advertising. It's because we either want to test systems or we want to try them out. That's why we do it, or because we love a system and we want to go back to it and we want to play again. And so I want that passion to be what drives us and our content as far as Happy Jacks the network.
Yeah.
Because that's really important to me. So if that means that we're going to be a little snarky about some systems, I'm cool with that. I'm okay with snark. And just know that the snark comes from a communal love of gaming, even if it's not like the same flavor of gaming you particularly like at that moment. And that you will definitely know when we whether we like something or not. We will be honest about it.
Do we have any GURPS super fans still among the hosts, or is Stork a GURPS a big fan of GURPS?
He likes GURPS a lot. His work schedule is not letting him even come to the Friday shows right now. He's working like it's 6 days a week, 12 hours. It's wild right now. I think we have people who could run it if they wanted to. But
I could run it if I wanted to.
If I wanted to.
The thing is getting people to want to.
Right.
And to top it off, I don't think GURPS is a bad system. It's just not a system that I prefer.
I don't dislike it. I simply don't like it, which is quite different.
Oh man!
Because again, everything go back to Maggie Smith and Downton Abbey.
See now I want to run that game. I mean, I still want to run One Ring too, but I have to put that on my list.
Combine them.
Yeah.
Do
Downton Abbey.
A parlor drama set in the One Ring universe.
Oh my God! Yes, yes. Can we can play Good Society? But we'll play it as like
in the tavern in Bree.
Yeah.
And you have like Strider in the corner, like smoking his pipe, looking weird and mysterious. Nobody trusts him. All that stuff. Yes. Very.
Oh my God. Have a little Hobbit matron.
So
the
good.
Dowager is the best character in Good Society.
Why would you ever play anything else?
Right? Yeah. I would love to play an entire game of Dowagers. It's just the Dowager off.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You're
on.
That would be amazing. But I told you about I don't know if I've talked about this, but I did want to run a D&D campaign on Happy Jacks at some point, and it'll be a while, but I want to play a D&D campaign where we only do level 1.
Oh.
No leveling up, none of that. Just like we just play at level 1, and it just to prove that D&D can be amazing for RP if you want it to be.
It's like the real life game.
Right, yeah.
It's like to be real people in a fantasy campaign.
Right, yeah. And that's my thought is like the big bad is like this like barbarian encampment outside town.
A large boar that just...
Yeah, right, yeah. Like, okay, we're going to spend the whole season gearing up to go fight this large boar. A dire boar on the outskirts of town. Like,
it turns out it's not even a dire boar. It's just like a really big boar. Right. It's like a dire boar.
Yeah.
These are all farmers and like a blacksmith.
Yeah. No, it's just...
Oh my God. I want there to be a web comic now.
It's just a dwarf woman in a pig helmet.
Oh man.
Oh
Okay.
God.
We've had entirely too much fun today. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, my
Okay.
God.
Oh, I haven't seen you both in a while.
I
know,
know.
it's been a long time.
2-week hiatus was
I know.
just awful, but yeah.
All right. Well, thank you
All
much. Thank you so much for joining us for season 31, episode 2. Thank you to our chat mod, James V, and to our amazing Patreons who keep us ad-free and independent. If you'd like to join their incredible ranks, you can go to happyjacks.org/Patreon. My name is Kimmy.
My name is Adam.
I'm Nick.
And this week we're going to, and please send us emails. Pretty please, emails.
Please.
Yes, and get ready for next show. We should be announcing and doing our first Indie Designer of the Month. So get ready for that. We are going to leave you with a song this evening. It's called Those Who Fight Further, and it's a cover of the Final Fantasy VII song by our friends at Super Mad NES. And they're a like super awesome rock band, just like the coolest guitar players ever. They have 2 guitar players that just shred.
Yeah.
And they're so good. Okay. Anyway, so you can find their music at supermadnes.com. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.